What's tea, y'all? I know some of you are out there right now having a hard time, having problems in your relationships, having trouble with life. Or maybe you're on social media swiping and swiping, thinking, why can't that be me? Why can't I do that? Well, I'm here to let you know that you can. This is Create Your Own Story with Terrell Garnett, where we not only help you create your own story, but we let you tell yours too. Let's get into it, y'all. What is tea, y'all? I am back with season 2. Can you believe that, y'all? Season 2. And I have some, as you already know, some special guests here on the podcast. I'm doing something a little different. This is a live shooting of the podcast, or recording, I should say. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, and we're going to get in the dialogue. They don't know what the hell we talking about today.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they don't know what we talk about today, but I'm going to put them on the spot. Let's hope that no toxic masculinity gets involved in this, you know. But yeah, you guys can go in order and introduce yourselves.
My name is Jerry, and this is my first time with more people, so This is pretty exciting.
I go by Senseii, Senseii. Thank you for having me, Terrell.
My name is Demariyea, and I'm ready to go.
He's like, what do I say? Do I promote myself? You'll be able to promote yourself at the end of the podcast. So, yes. Let's get into it, y'all. So, I really wanted to... We're out here in Big Bear right now, California, Big Bear Lake, and I really wanted to... You know, we have 3 or 4 guys, counting myself. And I really wanted to, I don't know if you guys look on social media and you guys see all of the stuff about how a lot of things are, I don't want to say, I feel that women, how do I put this? Women, you gotta be careful because you know you could cancel real quick.
This is the part where I put on the glasses.
Yeah, women are pro-women, which is an amazing thing. But in the aspect of being pro-women, sometimes they become anti-men. And not all men are, you know, what we see on TV or what women portray us to be at. Like, just because you don't know how to pick a man does not mean that all men are shitty. Like, sometimes you just pick shit men. That's what you're attracted to, shit men.
And you can't generalize just off of one specific or maybe a numerous amount of maybe traumatic events or whatever the case may be.
It very, very, very true.
Well, I think that's what it is. I think it's, you know, I mean, that's a pretty general statement in itself, but it's a general statement, or at least somewhat of a general statement off of a general statement, that oftentimes it is a traumatic event that sometimes dictates our perception of how we look at a man or even a woman at times, you know what I mean? And I think that disqualifies you from a lot of great opportunities. Or a great opportunity, I would hope a great opportunity. You're not jumping around from man to man, but to meet someone that is, that happens. But to meet someone that is actually healthy.
Gave me a question too for y'all. So when do you guys think it is okay to move on once you're out of a relationship? Like start dating other people? How soon is too soon?
I mean, me personally,
this is Sensei talking.
Healing it depends on the individual itself. Whatever they're going through mixed with how they perceive things. So everyone's in their own battle, everyone's in their own race in a specific way. So I'd say it all depends on the individual. You know, how they perceive do they want to heal or do they just want to jump to the next thing? Do they want to hide their issues or do they want to like look within? You know?
I agree. I think a lot of it comes down to each individual. Me personally, I've always moved on quick. So I'm like, oh.
Why is that?
I think a lot of it before was just a distraction, right? Like he's talking about. A lot of times we don't sit down and say, okay, what happened in the last relationship and what do I really want? And a lot of times I just moved directly to the next girl. And because I didn't want to focus on, if I'm doing business and I'm doing different things, and I'm like, okay, I just want to get a girlfriend. I'm going to get a girlfriend. I'm not going to focus on the healing process of what happened before my last relationship. So if I answer the question too soon, I really feel like it does depend on each person, but I think people should at least give themselves some time to think before even moving on or doing anything of thinking about being in another relationship. Just time to focus on like being single and being for what am I doing for me instead of, because when you're in a relationship, I moved in like, what am I doing for us? When it came to business, when it came to everything, I'm living with this girl. So it's like, what am I doing for us? Then the transition is now, what am I doing for me? So I think people should at least give themselves at least a month to just do them.
I mean, it's easy to take on other people's, not other people's problems, but like when you jump into a relationship, when it comes to the needs of another person, you can definitely fill those in. But that's going to mask what is truly behind what you're trying to find within yourself, if that makes any sense, right?
I think also too is, just piggybacking off of what they both said. It's true. It's on an individual basis, but I also believe that however long it takes for you to actually evaluate and find what went wrong, and it might have not been you, it might have been you, it might have been you just in part. It's important to look at those things. We do this a lot in even the aspect of life, is that we throw things under the rug. We throw things under the rug and we never deal with those issues. And the reality is that they're not issues that make us an issue, but it can make us an issue to whoever else we meet. And if we're not careful, we don't evaluate ourselves, we'll look at them as the issue. And so we're jumping around from relationship to relationship, looking at the other person as an issue rather than looking at ourselves as not necessarily the issue, but maybe a toxic trait or personality that we haven't just realized and honed in on. So I think however long that takes you, you have to be honest with yourself to evaluate that. And obviously, I think too, it's imperative that you have a close confidant, someone that can obviously speak into your life and give you some really good sound advice and point those blind spots out that you might not see, so that you can work those things out and that you're open to. If not, it's just going to be a repetitive door. So I think it's really on the individual, but it's also in that time frame for you to evaluate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think also, though, to go on, piggyback off of what you said, that you have to look to find what your part in the reason why the relationship went wrong.
Yeah, because it's easy.
Like, you have to see what your part, because it's easy.
It's easy to point fingers, but then when you're looking at yourself, you're like, well, oh man, it's different when you're looking at yourself, but that makes total sense when you're looking at yourself. And once you look at yourself and understand certain reasons why, let's say it could be your attachment style, or whether it could be you're affected by past traumatic events as a child, what's your love attachment style? There's so many facets within it.
Yes. Well, before we continue, I want to play a song. It's off my playlist, Brown Sugar and Honey. You can get that on Apple Music or Spotify now. Terrell Garnett presents Brown Sugar and Honey. This song is called Different, and it's by Dave Watson. Let's get into it, y'all.
Purpose, just to show you that I care. Cause any other way it's like, what's the purpose? Fuck you think I'm really here? Now you know you're worth more than a Birkin. That's for certain. What you waiting for? I know you need some healing, baby. Talk to me, tell me where you're hurt. Cause fucking with the wrong one gon' have you doing all the wrong things. But I'ma let you do your own thing and introduce you to some grown things. You ain't never have a nigga put you in a new position, put a down payment on your new place. When you tell your girls you got a new man, they gon' ask, does he have a good job? Do he throw that shit on? Does he drive his own car? Do he put it down in the bedroom? Does he admire you when you walk? Listen to you every time you talk. When you call on him, is he there? Does he notice when you change your hair? You can run it up, girl, ain't no limit. You can get whatever you like. This ain't everywhere, limited edition. Too legit to quit every time when I'm hitting. Cut from a different club, girl, I'm different. You ain't gon' catch me on no nut shit. That's a no. And what I look like, pillow talking with another girl.
So again, that is Dave Watson. Yeah, that was Dave Watson. Sorry, yeah, there's a little technical difficulties, but Dave Watson different. Yeah, so love that record. So just to get into some more dialogue, I have a question for you that I feel like is important in relationships. What is one thing that you can't tolerate?
Dishonesty.
That was quick. So
on both sides, because I guess what it was from my past, dishonesty. I guess it could seep it. I feel like if dishonesty is in the relationship, even though it's not communicated, you could definitely see it from not even the verbal aspect, but it can definitely seep through in many forms of maybe the power dynamic between the couple, or just how far the relationship will go. But that's me personally.
I say someone that doesn't hold himself accountable.
Yeah, I agree.
Facts. Yeah, I think the same. I had to admit the same thing. I think when someone doesn't own up to their misconduct or the things that they fall short in, I think that can snowball into a lot of huge issues down the line. When you don't hold yourself accountable and you can't acknowledge maybe your wrongs, I feel personally you don't take a posture, nor whether you're it's unbeknownst to you or you just simply don't want to deal with it. It's almost a sign of pride in the relationship when you can't take ownership of the things that you fall short in, and be held accountable to that. You hear this thing often, especially when you're with people that inspire to grow or want a relationship that inspires each other to grow. Accountability is a big thing. And the thing about being held accountable, when you're in love with someone, the person that loves you is always going to be rooting for the best for you. So they're always going to be on your team. But when you point out areas or blind spots, again, like I mentioned before, that they have and they don't own up to it, they're basically pushing aside the responsibility to stay accountable to the individual. Yeah, they're sweeping it under the rug to the individual that they're with. And so there's never growth in that. And eventually that turns into a lot more issues than just not owning up to the situation in itself or whatever that may be. It can start resentment for the other individual that sees that there's no accountability. It could start arguments. It could you can count a record of wrongs there, and you can start keeping score of every time that person is not accountable to their actions. So I think that's very important, and I think accountability is a huge thing, especially when you're in love with someone. You got to remember the person that you're in love with, at least they should always be rooting for you. They should always be committed for your success. So if your success is pointing out the areas that maybe you fall short in, they're not saying it because they want to tear you down. They're saying it because they love you and they want you to be championed, and they're trying to champion you. But if you don't take ownership of those things, that relationship is going to fall short very, very quick, and you're going to find yourself in a very, very rough spot with any other person that you're involved with because there's no growth there.
Then it just becomes into something where it's like lovers become strangers due to the fact of the misery and the resentment building up and manifesting through those things, because like you're saying, nothing's truly getting communicated. So along those things going on, further growth is being stunted.
Well, how do you have progression without accountability?
Exactly.
And the reality is a lot of it's driven by ego, right? Mm-hmm. We have these egos and we say, you know what, I'm this person in our head, but when someone's close to you and they're telling you like, nah, you're doing stuff that you're saying, like if you're saying stuff and you're not doing the actions, then you're slipping. That's what I was taught, right?
Yep.
So without the accountability, it's very hard in a relationship for me to grow with someone if I watch you in your own life, because that's what we're doing. We're watching each other in our relationship, but we watch each other like, oh, okay, you said you're gonna do all that stuff, but you don't hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
So if you don't hold yourself accountable in your own life, how are you gonna be accountable in a relationship?
In a relationship and towards the future, yeah.
Much less towards, building generational wealth or things like that. So that's huge. That's like number one.
And that's where the blind spots come in, because sometimes we come into relationships, and that's completely fine. I at least in my opinion, that's completely fine. Sometimes we come into a relationship and it's not malicious, nor is it deceitful. We come into relationships and we just actually unknowingly come in with these areas that we didn't even realize that we have. We didn't realize that, we could be arrogant. We didn't realize we cut people off, or we cut our loved one off, or sometimes we talk about ourselves too much or whatnot. And so what ends up happening is this is where the real issue starts is when you're, like you said, when you're in relationship with someone and they point those areas out and there's no change.
Before you continue, I have a question. What is an area that you realized about yourself that is quote unquote toxic that you think can contribute to the reason of downfall about a relationship or just a friendship or any type of thing?
I feel as far as me, I can honestly say I'm too tolerant. I'm too tolerant in certain areas. I think it's my nature because I believe the best in people. Sometimes I let myself dwell in a certain area or allow certain things to happen without putting my foot down. And more oftentimes than not, when I do put my foot down,
I've going too far.
I've grown a monster already.
Yep.
I've let things grow too much.
Yep.
And as far as an area of accountability, sometimes I could be so in my head or so busy that that sometimes I don't always fulfill the things that I say. And it can't be it's not out of malicious intent, nor is it out of any wrongdoing towards the individual, even though sometimes it can come out wrong. But sometimes it could be so caught up in my own life that I don't realize that I had committed myself to something. And so those are things that I've had to point out, and one I've been pointed out to, but one I've also had to realize in myself. That takes honesty too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as far as one of the areas that I feel that as far as what the question you added to, or you had asked, it's those two things. And I think one of the biggest detriments to myself, more so in my own peace, is allowing things to prolong for so long and finally putting my foot down, and then it's a mess.
What about you, Sensei?
Like trusting, and I guess what it was, understanding trusting too easy, or understanding the dynamics of relationships too. Because when I trace back things, my relationship attachment styles, it traces back to how I was raised, and it goes back to my parents and my parents' parents. How are my parents? Both of my parents, they lost their mothers at a young age. So them raising me and my sister, how does that go? The lack of communication and emotion. Luckily, I had music within my life, so that gave me some form of expression for me to understand some type of words for me to fully feel comfortable. But that's completely different when it comes to being in a relationship and doing and saying these things when you're in a commitment. But tying back to that, my attachment and love style, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a late bloomer in terms of realizing and understanding, but that's the beauty of life. I mean, you keep learning and you keep growing. But when it comes to me, I'm still learning to tying back to the healing question. Like I'm still healing, I'm still learning, and I'm happy because I'm looking towards the future with optimism. You know what I mean? So all the things that happened in the past, I can look back and understand, there's variables to why certain things happened in my past relationships that either caused the downfall of it on both parties.
And yourself, Demario?
Something that was a toxic trait and something I'm working on is not being controlling. And the reason why is because I always grew up with a lifestyle some aspects of it was life and death. So a lot of times I would watch certain situations unfold, people doing certain things, knowing, well, if I would have said this to them, this situation could have changed. So when I come in a relationship aspect, someone coming with a financial background and doing different things like that, I could come off very controlling on the aspect of like, back to accountability. If you're not holding yourself accountable and I'm dating you, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna tell you like, yo, what's that? You're supposed to do this. I grew up in a lifestyle where it was no, oh, I can't and I couldn't, and come with excuses. There was no such thing as excuses. So I hold high standards, and I think that could be another downfall of having too high standards for people that may not be able to reach them. Then you're setting somebody up for possible failure. So a lot of times, instead of being like, okay, you know what, let's do this, I'm just gonna do it for you. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do it for you. It's gonna be easier if I help you instead of me telling you how to do something. And that aspect, I realize, is controlling in the long run, even though to me it was coming from like, well, I don't want something bad to happen, right? I grew up where certain things like, well, we have to follow certain rules, so we have to be safe. But if I'm pressing you or pushing you to an extent to tell you to be safe for yourself, maybe you don't want to live that way. So my big thing was like coming off controlling and being controlling, but in the aspect of thinking, well, I'm doing positive. Because the message is, I want you to do this positive, but if you don't want to do something you don't want to do, that's still controlling, right? So I took something that was positive and mixed it with pushing them too far instead of just giving some advice and leaving it at that. So I definitely think that's one of the big things, and sometimes people can't admit it, but I think it's important to have self-reflection in this process, so I know, okay, comes off of controlling, or I am controlling at the end of the day. How do I work on that?
That's big.
I think it takes a lot for you to even admit that.
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to answer the question, but I'm not. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody's the host.
Yeah, except the host. Yeah, I was like, I knew the questions I was going to ask, but I didn't prepare to answer any of them.
Good.
So for me, toxic trait, I think a little bit of all of your guys is, to be completely honest, like in a nutshell. I think, I've done a little bit of all of that, for the right reasons. But I think that, like I've said in the podcast that I did with you, and then the one that I did recently with Candace, is that I go overboard when I care about somebody or I love somebody, and then I make their issues or their shit my stuff. And that's toxic in a sense, because then I lose sense of who I am, and I'm just doing something for you. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't benefit you at all, and it definitely doesn't benefit me.
On both parties.
So I feel like
that's
my toxic.
It's almost like you play God in a sense.
Yeah, and exactly. And there's this song by, I'm not gonna play, but there's a song by Samo that says that literally says, I'm not God. If he can't help you, then what makes you think I can?
Yeah, that's big.
And here's the thing about that, and like not even
not me having a God complex.
Yeah, well, no, honestly,
that's the thing now.
Well, that is a thing right there. But like, not even to like tap in too much into the faith perspective, but for me, for someone that's really big in my faith, that's the issue is that sometimes we think that God can't help people, and God can. The reality is that more oftentimes than not, again, going back to taking ownership of things and responsibility and self-reflection, evaluation, is that we oftentimes, God is completely available. We oftentimes don't take the help that we actually need because we're reluctant, or we refuse to actually look at ourselves to admit we need that help. I mean, there's nothing wrong with admitting that.
That's pride.
I think,
you know what I'm saying? That's pride.
For me, that I see people hurting or they're disadvantaged in any type of way that I want to help.
Yeah.
And quote unquote fix the situation, but I'm not allowing them. I am a fixer. I'm not allowing them to grow or to learn from the mistake, or learn from
and
the
they might
situation.
They might not be even in the position to grow. You know what I mean? They might not be in the position to grow, and so they have to be quote unquote enlightened, and sort of just that has to be brought to their attention on and what you have to do to position yourself to grow. And then there's other people that do have an understanding, and they do have the available resource, and they do know what they need to do to position themselves for successful growth, but they just don't want to do it.
Well, I think we take enlightening somebody too far. Like, in my profession, I help people every day. So naturally, if I have a girlfriend, I'm gonna help you. You buy me. I help. I just give game. That's just me.
Yeah.
But the overstepping of enlightenment, right, turns into controlling later on. Like
Yeah.
by not letting them do it. See, a lot of it was not letting somebody go through the process, right? And looking back at it, building businesses, building relationships, just life in general, you could learn so much from somebody telling you. I know this every day because I do mentorships, but the process is going to tell you all you need to know. And a lot of times what I did was, I'm like, I already know this. I've been through the process. So let me just tell you. So you don't got to do that. But reality is I'm not giving them the benefit because they're taking my opinion, which again, they have to run through their perception. So if their perception is they don't know what I'm talking about or they don't like what I'm saying,
then nothing's going to get through.
They're going to go through the process anyways. And then that's when I was creating resentment. Like, well, why would you go through that same process?
When I got it available to you.
When I got it available. I teach people this every day. But I like what you said, like enlightenment's important. I feel like certain times we go around people, I'm big into faith and stuff. So I feel like there's no encounter that's just there. It's no coincidence, right? But I feel like enlightenment, once you start that, sometimes we just have to give the message. Sometimes we get the message from God. I'm not supposed to help you do the message. I'm not supposed to do nothing besides tell you, hey, bro,
point you the way.
Hey, this is where you should go.
Yeah.
And then we take it too far because a lot of people are fixers. We see somebody we want to help.
And it's because you care.
Right.
It's because you care, you know? And sometimes you'll care so much you'll end up jumping off the cliff with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where you hurt.
I think learning the process of self-love is knowing that they say quote unquote like tough love, and I feel like that can be very toxic just saying that. However, I do believe sometimes when you love somebody and you're doing stuff, you just got like
to a certain extent,
you got to go through that process.
That has to happen.
You got to go through the process.
Nothing is through to a certain point.
Yeah, you got to go through the process. So I think caring, so we take caring so far to a point where we're so in depth in the person's problems, and then we take it on and internalize ourselves. Yeah, and then they're suffocated, and now I got an extra problem.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be stressed. Like relationships to me is supposed to be some sort of benefit, right? That's the reality. We're supposed to benefit. We're supposed to be providing solutions. A lot of times we're creating problems because we're trying to fix the other person. I always see people like, well,
speak about it.
I could fix you. I could fix this person. And I came in that perspective too. So then I asked, what in myself makes me want to fix somebody?
Yeah.
Because I could, if I spend all that time fixing you, quote unquote, I could be fixing on myself and drawing a line and saying,
exactly.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Exactly.
We have to set up boundaries for ourselves, and
I think there's a healthy tension between that too, because it can be toxic. We're saying I'm trying to fix you, and then I think you had mentioned fixing somebody, and then also self-love or tough love and self-love.
Yeah.
And you have to have a healthy tension between the two.
Yeah.
Because self-love sometimes can be so self-indulgent where you become selfish,
and then you isolate,
and it's all about you.
Everything.
And then tough love is, well, I'm just gonna let you be. And then that's very toxic too, because you can end up hurting somebody. Yeah, you know what I mean. So you have to keep the tension between the two, and
balancing act.
It's a balancing act.
As above, so below.
But it starts with us.
I
really think it starts with us. Like I always ask myself, like, well, why do I want to help these people? Why do I want to help the female that I'm with? Specifically, now I get paid to help people, but why do I want to help this person? And looking back, I grew up with a single mom, so I'm trying to fulfill something that my dad didn't do. Right, and now I tell myself one day, because my brother's in a similar situations, that's not my job. You know what I'm saying? I'm out with my mom. That's my mom. You know what I'm saying? And so with girls, I can't go into the same aspect of, well, I have to do different than my dad did, because I'm already there. I'm already doing different. Exactly. But sitting there with that insecurity of like, well, what if I wind up like this person pushes me to be like, well, no, you got to be better. Every single day, you got to be better. If I wake up at 7:30, you should be waking up early too. If I'm working, you should be doing the same thing. So that self-reflection is key in moving forward and not doing these toxic things.
Last thing I want to add to that too is I think that also comes into the perspective of being able to appreciate people's differences, because every relationship is different. And I think oftentimes than not, we, especially with people that have such a high expectation of themselves or have certain viewpoint of themselves and they've already realized their power spots, is oftentimes we project that and expect that from someone else, not realizing that the beauty to who they are actually is a different set of assets that they carry. And so if you don't appreciate their differences,
and that's
you
what
could
attracted you.
Exactly. Well, you could bypass all the beautiful things that they can offer to your life and vice versa, and then disqualify them for not being you. And then you're trying to fix them without realizing that there's so much that they can offer to you too. You know what I mean? And you miss the whole beauty of championing each other in a relationship. And so I think that's very important.
That's real.
Yep.
So just to leeway into another song before we keep on with the dialogue, this song again is off that playlist, and it's by Senseii Ari the Kid. It's called It's Not You, It's Me. Let's get into it, y'all.
Hey, 1 in the morning, wide awake, I'm up but I'm stalling. I'm just trying to stay up but I'm falling. Deep in love, I know you calling, trying to see what's up. I started, didn't mean to lead you on. Regardless, I don't even mean no harm. All these years they label me a dog. Time out, I just need to pause. Love Jones, where's Nia Long? I was too busy, she was bored. I know that she prayed for me, dear Lord. Whenever I seen this girl, she there for it. Too fly for me, busy airport. Sometimes I need space, sipping 3 days, but who's counting with your mind? We've been going real hard. It's not true, it's me, I know. Yo, hey. It's not true, it's me, I know.
It's not me, it's you, I know. It's not me, it's you, I know. You, darling, you.
I know you wanna go with me, wanna ride out, wanna roll with me. I'm a bad boy, like I know Diddy. I've been starting beef, like the old 50. Say you need my vibe, oh really? I've been doing me, wildin' usually. I've been used to being so litty. Entertaining exes, sending texts, saying I'm in your city. I be content with being trifling. I can't be acting light skin. Birds of a feather, look at my friends. All of them dogs, yo. Just add the roof, she caught me off guard, yo. Ain't that the truth? And I love your attitude. I'm just not used to having rules. It's not true, it's me, I know. Yo, hey. It's not true.
What's good, y'all? We back. Again, that song was by Senseii Ari the Kid. It's called It's Not You, It's Me. And sometimes when we're in relationships, we realize, just like what Demariyea was saying and Jerry and stuff, that, sometimes it's not you. It's not you. It's us. So it's really good to come out to that realization that, sometimes we are the issue, even though we're trying not to be the issue. So it's kind of like what's the saying? No good deed goes unpunished type thing. You can do something for the right reason, but it still can come out wrong. So next question I really do have for you guys is, what expectations do you guys have on yourselves, whether it be in a relationship or not in a relationship?
Stay accountable.
I think previously with me, I'd have low standards for myself. Low standards.
I know I've seen some of the women you've dated. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Fuck, right?
No,
yes.
I haven't seen anybody you
date.
Yes.
All right, off the record. No. Yeah. Jerry?
An expectation that I have for myself is yes, to stay accountable, to grow, and to set healthy boundaries in regard to a relationship. Growth, I think that comes with a relationship, but also personal growth in general. That's very important. That's my expectation, is to grow in different aspects of my life, I guess I would say. So always stay learning, always stay growing, but in regard to a relationship, growth, but boundaries, and making those boundaries very clear. My ideals, the things I stand for, very clear. And that to me is my expectation, one of my expectations that I have come into a relationship.
I want to get more specific, and I'll bring it in a business sense. They say when you're a boss, you got to learn how to fire quick, right? When you see the red flags in a business transaction, you're like, nah, you got to go.
Yeah.
In a relationship, I'm like, well, nah, we could work on this and we can work on that. So holding myself accountable now is like, if there's certain red flags that are met, then that's done. That's done for the interaction. That's done for, if we're talking or the relationship. See, I stayed in relationships too long at times and allowed certain things to continue, even though I knew deep down that I didn't need to be in that situation. So a lot of holding myself accountable is letting people know quick. Like, nah, I feel that's disrespectful. And then after that, if you keep doing it, then you purposely disrespecting, and then that's done. So one of the things to me is like, if I hold myself accountable, and I can expect you to hold yourself accountable. I can't expect someone to do something I'm not doing. And a lot of it is knowing my worth. Like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with that.
Yep.
That's it. Because kind of what we've been talking about right now, coming from the fixer standpoint or the, not having boundaries, is definitely something in the long run that creates what I like to call creates a monster. Because if you tell someone too late, then it's already like, well, bro, you've been letting me do that for 6 months, or this has been happening 6 months. So now you're telling me that this is disrespectful, and now you're telling me that this is a problem. And I done that before, letting things go on, and like 6 months later, like, hey, I don't like that. But the leverage or that point is done. I could have told you that the first week. We see these red flags a lot of the times.
The fact that it's keep on passing by, those red flags are still not getting acknowledged.
Yeah, because humans are we create these things that we do, and we're used to doing them, right? Like if I'm used to calling you once a night and I don't call you one night, you can be like, okay, why didn't you call me? We create this stuff in the first month when we're really talking to someone. We create, so that's the most important part.
That's kind of funny. That's kind of what I was telling you yesterday about buying. Yeah, don't get no girl, no nothing, because you ain't even dating. So she's gonna you're putting not even just an expectation, but a standard. Well, because there's a difference between expectation and standards. I'm not going to give that to y'all today. We're going to talk about that on another podcast.
That's huge. That's huge, though.
But yeah, you're putting a standard there. So now you have to follow through and keep doing this stuff. So when, you're gonna something that was just a just because gift for this girl that you're dating in the beginning or starting talking to, it's not a just because. Like, it's just like, oh, this is what he does.
Yeah, that creation of habits in the beginning of the relationship is so important. And that's what you're going to expect. If you talk to people every day, you expect to talk to them the next month and do these different things. So the red flag is, if you see a red flag early on, I'm going to let you know.
Start to be aware, either to cut it off or acknowledge it within, communicating.
Yeah, communication's key, but that's the big thing I'm working on.
Communicating the boundaries.
Letting them know, right, the boundaries.
The accountability as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You need to put the mic closer to you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like that.
There we go.
Cause right. I mean, I was trying during like the little intermission in the music. I was trying to fix it, but I'm just like,
I apologize.
You need to put you closer, because
I got to be up on the mics.
I don't know how it's going to sound when they listening to it. When y'all listening to it, I don't know if it sounds different, but yeah, just speak into the mic. The reason being is because there's 3 mics around, so it picks up on the other mics. I don't know how it's going to sound.
Okay, some of the acoustics meshing
exactly, and then bouncing off the wood walls and stuff. But anyways, sorry.
Cabin, Big Bear.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So I know, I was like, he over here busting wind and stuff, making them cheeks clap.
I was like, this guy's sad.
He farted me sad.
No, it was the mic. They'll be breaking my mics now. So the next question I have: do you think that dating is harder or easier with the internet?
All right, are we going to talk post-pandemic too? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In general, I think that
trust issues, trust is probably.
I think people say that. Well, I'm 24, so I think I've always been. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up, the internet was here. So I think the next generations are just going to experience on a different level. But I can't compare it to a time of where people didn't have the internet, because I grew up with internet.
Well, my old ass can.
But I think that just how things are, I think is we have the tools there, right? We have the tools there a little bit more accessible to get on the phone and say, you know, different things. But I do think as far as this, when you go on Facebook, when you go on these dating sites and you go and you interact with someone online, you can only see what they put on their profile. So I feel like you're missing a lot than meeting someone in person. When you meet somebody in person and you see them, a lot of what we go through is body language, right? So if I meet you in person, I may pick up different things than me looking at your social media, because your perception of yourself on social media may be something completely different than in the real world. And I think with that reality, it does make it more challenging, because now we just like, okay, I want a girl that looks like this. So now you just go look for a girl that looks like this. Yeah. Like we buying something online. You go online, you're like, okay, well, I want this. And guess what? If the girl don't want you, you could just go do it again.
Yeah. Damn.
Can I ask you a question?
Ask a question? Yeah. I'm going to piggyback off what you said, but you can ask your question first.
And this is going off what you said. Where do we draw the line with contentment? When we meet a girl that fits,
but you shouldn't be content.
Yeah, I don't.
What
like
do you mean?
that. I don't.
I don't want to be content.
Content with who you're with.
But what does that? What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Happy.
That's like a
not settling. Not settling.
But contentment is settling.
Okay, happy with what you got. Because again, going back to the social media thing. Okay. Going back to the social media thing, there's so many options, guys and girls.
I get what you're saying. You're like, sometimes when you look on it, the grass is greener. The grass is greener on the other side.
But those are just illusions, man. Those are illusions that are 3D.
That's coming from you, but where do we draw the line in regard to just in a general audience where like people, like for our generation, where we draw the line and say, I'm happy with this person.
Understanding fulfillment. Understanding real fulfillment.
Well, fit in a relationship for one. Why would you be in a relationship?
But instead of overindulgence,
everybody does it every day.
Exactly.
But we're so overindulged if we really think about it in general. We eat till we're full. We don't just eat. Most people don't eat. When you're working out, you eat to work to get your
exactly.
But we eat till we're full. So that level of
sometimes we eat till we're past full.
Yeah.
So that level of overindulgence to me is the reason why, especially for me. Like I've been in relationships where I cheated, and the reason why was it because
I'll say you a hoe. No, I'm just playing.
hey, not gonna lie.
Sound effects. What's the sound effects?
Right? I don't know which one is which. I wish I would.
But that's the reality. It was like the overindulgence. Well, I got this person here. Well, why not go get something more? Well, I have this money. Why not go get some more? You know? So I think overindulgence is one of the big things. I feel like fulfillment, at some level when you're fulfilled. I knew when I was fulfilled, and then I still said, well, I want more. And that's where I messed up, because I said I want more. Now I'm in overindulgence. Now I'm being greedy.
But that's when you'll check yourself, because once
you don't speak into that damn mic.
That's where you'll check yourself. But when you're fulfilled, and then you choose to cross that boundary due to not being content, like you're saying,
but it's there. Like on social media right now, you can get online. Everybody can go online, talk to someone right now. I don't care what time it is. Somebody's up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that level of accessibility and us wanting
that's the problem with a lot of
people.
people.
The dynamics of relationships too are changing.
So you think one of the biggest issues that we have options?
Not that we have
there's
options.
Too many options.
There is too many options, but I think that a lot of people allow themselves to be too accessible.
Exactly.
So if you want it, you can go get it. Whether it be a price or just flaunting something, But
I think that comes from like the intention factor. Like all these things is still coming down from overindulgence and ego. Like, well, I need more. Instead of you could be doing anything right now at night, but you want to go do this. Why?
And it causes insecurities
because you can
in your
have
relationship
all the
and your
options
people.
in the world. But
so
what is it gonna do?
But they show you through media right now. If you really look at it through rap music and different things, that it's cool.
It's deceptive.
It's cool to have.
I think that in the aspect of dating and the internet and all this other stuff, I think that the problem is that we're always on our phone. No matter what it is, you could be on a date, you could be hanging out with your friends, you could be watching TV. But no matter what you're doing, within the first 5 minutes, middle 5 minutes, last 5 minutes, you pick up your phone just to see if there's anything new.
I remember there was a time.
Doesn't matter what it is, though.
There was a time before you can access the internet on your phone. When it was the beginning, when it was just
when it was
MySpace,
like blue and then orange, flip phones.
When it made noises.
Yeah, like the Sidekick where you had
not the Sidekick in the BlackBerry.
But you could go on the internet browser for the first time, and those were like people weren't as wired to their phones compared to as like.
Well, yeah,
now,
because you had to call after 9.
Exactly, and I think
Yeah,
that's
call
why.
after 9 to get the minutes. You know,
I was doing that though.
3 minutes.
The text messages. Hey babe, I'm texting you from my friend's phone, but I just want to tell you that I love you. Hey, don't text me back. Don't text me back. I'm gonna call you later. I'm gonna call you for the house phone. Hey dude, my
Nice.
bad. You wanted to ask a question, and then I just sort of threw a wrench in it.
No, it's funny though. I had this friend, Antonique, that if I'd call her or whatever just to ask her a quick question, she said, "No, you better stay on this phone because you already done called, and it's before 9 o'clock, so we gonna finish this whole minute up."
Exactly.
Yeah, because that cost you 25 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
No joke, man. Minutes.
But I think going on in reality in time, we'll get more used to it. But there's just a level of, like you said, like I'm talking about, like accessibility and the want. Why do we want to? Like if we look down to it, like social media is designed a certain way for them to keep us on social media. And we on social media, we do it every day.
Yeah.
Oh, so-and-so suggested you. They put random different notifications.
Yeah.
And we're so like, boom, we're tied to that adrenaline of seeing if somebody liked our post and
the
doing
dopamine
that. I think the big problem is the level of attention people want now is instant.
I think that the reason why it's instant is
Instant
because of a lot of not
Yeah.
even that. I think it's more so childhood stuff. Like the parents that we had were always had to work. We weren't really got that much attention when we were little. I mean, I can speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure
The hardworking class.
Exactly, like most people in our generations or single mothers or single dads, or your dad's
Even
in the
more so now.
military, your family's in the military or whatever. So you didn't get that level of attention. So now that you're older, you're seeking attention. So whether it's negative attention or positive attention, it doesn't matter because it's attention. And that's why certain kids act up in school too. That's a whole other subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it doesn't like the person that you're finding. You don't give a damn about the girl on the screen or whatever. You just want the attention.
You want to be
it makes
wanted.
You feel good.
You want to be wanted.
You want to be wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a reflection just beyond the relationship status part. It's beyond the worth thing. It's a void that's in your heart of what you didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think that man,
that's why a lot of people go to
that now,
Healing
I feel like
the trauma is essential.
that's why like going in the gym is so huge right now because you want to look good just so people can think that you're amazing or think that
you don't even want to feel good. You don't want to look good.
You just want a lot of people just want to look
tapped
good.
in. It's being tapped in. That's why when I talk about social media from someone I post, I get off because I know you either be a creator or a consumer. And when you're a consumer, the reality is when you go on Facebook,
I'm off the social
the
media.
algorithm is there
Nothing.
to design your Facebook to agree with
Forget
you.
the cloud.
Yeah.
Why would you go on Facebook? Everybody disagrees.
Well, it's the algorithm.
Right. So
Yeah.
it pulls everything up that agrees with you. So we're so used to that. If you don't know that and you're used to like, oh wow, everybody likes my stuff, you're gonna be tapped into your phone more than you're gonna be tapped into person because somebody in person may have a different opinion.
Well, I think
Online,
that's
it just
stuck in
pulls the
the matrix.
algorithm.
I think that also goes back to the thing, in regard to the phone. That also goes back to the thing to what becomes a huge detriment in relationships in general and friendships just in general, especially with the opposite sex. When you get to know each other, it's being glued on those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
People
I
don't know how
will
to communicate nowadays. If it's not
exactly.
On the phone.
Exactly.
Text real
People
quick,
respond back faster on Instagram than they will a text message or a phone call.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it's
realizing
crazy.
that now.
Yeah, and it's been around for a while.
There's like
Shout
certain
out to
times
you.
there's people that I'm like, I really want to get in touch with them. Like I'll hit them on Instagram or hit them on Snapchat.
Not on text message.
Because I know that they'll respond back faster on that,
Yeah.
And then on one of those things, it's like, if they don't have the reads on their regular phone, I know that they've seen it,
It
So
shows
they
active.
feel like they have to respond now because they look like an ass if they
Well,
don't.
I feel like that's the big, like, when we sum it up, like, the access when you go on Instagram and Facebook, it tells you when somebody read it, it tells you when they're active. It's just like everybody's always there. So when you don't
Always
hit
on.
somebody back,
Accessible.
you already like, well, Facebook said you active. You was on Facebook because you liked the
Yeah.
post and those different things. I feel like we just, as we keep progressing in society, we want things now. We want, well, hey, I think you're cute. Well, I want a relationship now. Or hey, like it just everything is.
You want to
going
watch
so
your
fast.
YouTube video right now.
Yeah,
Boom.
you want it.
The ads are getting longer.
Instant gratification, and if we look at that,
We're on the on-demand.
we
type
need
of
that every
era.
day. We need that.
On
People want
demand.
that every single day, instant gratification, because social media allows it. It's
Yeah.
designed to give you some sort of gratification. That's why you go back to it.
Well, that's what runs relationships short in the first place, because when you do that and you see each other in person, it's not the same thing.
Not at all.
different ball
People be catfishing, and when people think of catfish, they think of this show like, oh, it's a whole different person. I think when I say catfish, I'm like, oh,
Personality.
you just lied about whatever it is.
Yeah.
like that's a catfish.
But it's like great marketing. If you think about it, when you go buy a product, I don't care how many reviews.
It's show your best and hide the rest.
Yeah,
It's show your best
But
and hide the
that's
rest.
social
Yeah.
media, bro.
But that's
social
real
media
life.
is all highlight reels, supposedly.
When you meet
of their
someone,
so-called
It's fun.
life.
It's funny.
You
I
feel
remember
me? Like,
when I worked at Van, some girl came in there, and I guess she followed me on social media. She's like, "Oh, you look better in person," and I'm like, I was insulted. I'm like, you know how many filters I put on that damn picture for you to tell me I look better in person? Like, thank you, because I know it's a compliment, but that's like I felt like it was insulting. But it's because we put so much effort into social media that we don't put enough effort into ourselves.
into the actual physical.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think though, we put our best. We're always marketing, right? I talk about marketing because I do it,
Like
right?
that.
But we're always marketing. Even when you just meet somebody, you're not gonna let them know what's really going on.
Hey,
You're
what's
gonna
up? Hey, I do this with
Yeah.
this and that and this.
You're gonna give them the highlights. You're gonna give them
Yeah.
best thing. So at some sense, Instagram simply just said, y'all give highlights in real life. Now we're gonna make it where you can give highlights on Instagram to 100,000 people or to 1,000 people or to 100 people instead of just doing one time. We're always putting our best foot forward. But I think at some level,
There has to be some type of, I guess, limit. Or not limit, but
well, there's a difference between lying and marketing. But
There we go.
it's perspective. That's the problem. Like perspective. If your
Yeah, I mean,
perspective is-
technically, it's kind of the same thing. Like when you look at commercials of like a hamburger spot, like that shit look good. So you
Bruh,
go and
they
get it,
put
but
in
when
so
you
much
get it,
life.
when you get it, it don't look like that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing
they
that
do
we dealing
so
with.
much on those commercials.
don't do
Yeah,
that
I
to me,
actually
bro.
saw the background behind it. You guys seen that?
Don't do that to me,
What they
man.
do behind the scenes.
I seen that.
Yeah,
they do
I saw
crazy
it too.
stuff. So
What?
but that's what people
You
are
guys seen the pancakes?
we're designed to do.
Motor
Mm-hmm.
oil.
Well, like
Nah,
I edit.
syrup.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
motor oil.
this is something crazy, and I know like we're like dwelling on
know,
this, like
sorry
we're on
for
this, but
relationships too.
this is something crazy. Is that we oftentimes I've noticed more so now, people are fixed on the short game rather than the long run, and so we'll focus on how we look for a moment, and we'll overexert ourselves for that moment, not realizing that there's a marathon.
TMC.
This is a marathon,
You say you're tipsy?
and
I
so
said TMC.
Oh, TMC.
And I continue. And I'm tipsy.
no, this is facts though, because like we do this a lot, and then we meet somebody, and this isn't even in the regard to the relationship part, is that we meet somebody and we overexert ourselves for that moment, not realizing that, at least for me, the design of a relationship, and I know times have gotten really
help.
modern, is
I
we
wanna
would
do
we would hope that the person we meet or the person that we're with, that would be the person that we stay with. You know what I mean? Because that in itself, breaking up and all those other things, come with its own trials and whatnot. You know what I mean?
I think a big issue with today is that people don't know how to date, and what I mean by that, when you're dating,
People don't know how to be friends.
exactly. But when you're dating, it's just supposed to be that dating. Like you're just supposed to have fun, but.
But
when
what is
people
the
get
quote unquote standard? What is
if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 20s and you're dating, it shouldn't be that serious. You should be having fun. You should be, getting to know people.
Friends.
But
There you go.
people that get into relationships, they don't think like that. They think like, oh, this is going to be my husband or my wife
They
and
already,
everything. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
tied
But then they forget that
in
the
their
person
head
that
they idealize the person for what they want.
Yeah, and the person that they met at 22 or something is not going to be the person that they're dating at 28.
later.
Like you change and you evolve, and most times you don't.
You get better.
You don't.
I
You
think
don't
that's
mesh
a big,
together.
I think a lot of people, personally for me, like just having growth in the last couple of years, and I'm with people, they're like, money changed you. And I laugh and I'm like, well, money's gonna change you first off, because you're dealing with a different lifestyle, different things. In order to maintain this, you have to change.
Yeah.
If you want to become wealthy, you have to change yourself. That's just it.
Yeah.
Right. But like what you're saying is like, well, I met you last year and you had all the time for me. Well, now it's this year and I have 3 businesses. So things are gonna change. And I think when we look at change, typically as humans, we look at it as a negative thing.
At first, I
Especially
was
in
scared of
relationships.
change for the longest, but I'm a late bloomer.
Do you
know
think
what I'm
that you
saying?
accept well to change?
It took me a while too, but once I started to look at myself and see the faults within myself, that's where I was open to it. And I'm open to like so much more now. You know what I'm saying?
I think a healthy atmosphere of change is is a changing atmosphere.
Yeah.
So if you have an atmosphere that's always changing, then you're always in a pattern to grow. If you're stuck in a specific pattern of thought or a specific pattern and you're not changing, or it's not changing up, or it's not improving, you're not going to grow. And so that's what happens a lot of times. We're used to comfort. People are used to comfort. People are used to the status quo. People are used to, oftentimes we talk about change, but oftentimes we just continue to continue the same cycle.
Is that contentment though?
Doing the same.
That's contentment.
Doing the
What
same
you said
thing
earlier was
and
contentment
expecting
too.
the same-
Yeah, well,
expecting
you know
better
what?
Results.
You know what? To my fault, I will accept.
But isn't happiness being accepting? Or is it because people talk about contentment, right? Well, you should get a wife or you should get this person. And at some level, you know, after certain years go by of the adrenaline and all these different things of being in love, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The flow, right?
Yeah.
At one point is some people will call it contentment. And when I think of contentment, I think of settling. When I think of settling, I don't do that, right?
Well, something where they don't want more, they're just happy with what they have.
Yeah, but I think happiness is also people like, well, I want to be happy. I talk to people all the time like, well, I'm gonna have a really happy day, and I laugh and I say, well, what does that mean? They think smiling and doing these different things.
I think it also varies on the individual. What do you want?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what they want.
Don't know what they want.
Shout out.
And so,
But you
for
know why
instance,
that
like
is.
because they don't know themselves.
Exactly.
Because they don't know themselves. And that's where the void comes in. And so the void comes in and you're trying to fill all these things and you're still not happy. And so
It's just two people doing
in regard, so as far as like the autonomous individual, each and every single one of us have a level of happiness. And whatever that looks at to you, you could be happy and you could reach the state of happiness where you're just growing and that's your pace of growing, and opposed to the person next to you and they could be looking at you like
completely different
it's a
perspective
completely
on it.
different agenda.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people base their happiness on others.
As far as
And,
Exactly.
in
Which ties
relationships.
into
Like,
social
if
media, the environment of circumstances around us too. What,
Yeah,
what,
if I'm
what
not-
media shows,
if I'm not with you, then
movies.
I'm not happy. And people like literally kill themselves over people. And I'd be like, I always tell like girls that are going through bad stuff and they're crying over their dude, and I'm like, don't kill yourself over him, because all he gonna do is bring the next bitch to your funeral. Like, real talk.
or not even pull up.
Yeah,
I'm saying they might not even pull up. They're gonna be at Universal Studios.
They'll be celebrating, honestly.
Yeah, but like, no, it's serious. Like, people, they involve themselves so much into somebody else to the point where if they're not with this person or they're not involved in whatever this person is doing, then they're not happy.
How many single
It had to
people
take
do you
me. It had to take me within my
So you dealt with that?
mother and father
You dealt with that?
for me to realize that.
I need
within
you to
myself.
speak into the God.
It took me within
mic.
realizing within my own
I
parents,
said, dang.
for me to actually see that come to fruition. And those were one of the hardest pills to swallow, where it's like the parents that you raised, but it's not on them too, because there are circumstances that are
Grace.
around them that not cause them to be the way that they are, but circumstances that happened in their life, which was a following for them to either cope with it or try to understand, and that was their way of coping, and the effects of how it can pass down.
How many? If we look about, I look at like movies and media, because that's the thing is huge. We're always watching these different things. How many times do we see a single person in a movie happy? Our perception, like happy, like when you're
Even,
What?
but
How
like when you think
single
about,
people do you see?
Married
That is
in
it.
a house. Is that it?
even when you talk
In the
about
movie.
movies and stuff, like when as kids, when all these little girls, the Disney Channel show you that if you're not with a man, that means you ain't shit.
That's it. So if we look at it as an early age, right? So no one is single that is happy.
And you
in
with
the
a woman,
movies.
if you ain't with a woman, that don't mean anything either. though.
Exactly. No,
You got
seriously,
that-
like you're nothing without this other person. That's what.
It's a lot of pressure.
No, seriously, it's like ingrained into us as children.
You gotta find who you
Yeah.
want. You need to find who you need to be with early on. And if we look at it, there's a lot of people that I know that didn't find someone until they're 40,
Exactly.
50
But
years
look
old.
at Jesus.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
died a virgin and he died alone.
Well,
It's true.
And I say
But he
this
also
to say
changed
that,
the world.
but
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's what I'm
changed the
saying.
world.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
that's my point though. Like you don't necessarily need somebody to be happy and to be,
That's why
And
knowing
that's
yourself
the
is
main
important.
point of it all, right
And-
there.
and here-
But pause, guys. Catch us again on part 2 of this.
Okay.
West.
Peace.
And that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed yourself on this episode of Create Your Own Story with Terrell Garnett. We'll catch you next time.